This is the TheNewsUNIT.com broadcasting live on my backup channel. And we have a lot of problems here right now with technical difficulties in broadcasting because of the cyberbullying attacks that have been levied against the news unit by all the crypto terrorists out here. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about that today as it relates to Bitcoin. So stay tuned. Remember, the information presented here is not necessarily that of myself or anyone else that participates. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and we can neither confirm nor deny the accuracy of any of this. Today is Thursday, August 24th, 2017. The current time is 15 hours, 32 minutes Coordinated Universal Time. We're going to take a look at some price action for the cryptocurrencies, the major ones. Bitcoin on the GDAX exchange is currently at 4233.75. And it is working towards breaking out again to the upside, it looks like. But we'll have to monitor this closely because we have some new developments with Bitcoin that are very troubling. Ethereum right now is at $322.93. And LITECOIN is up above $50 at $51.13. LITECOIN was up yesterday at $55 for a moment, and it pulled back slightly. And we're going to be watching LITECOIN with great interest. Dash on Poloniex is above 300 at 306.48. And we are also watching very carefully DOGE at 43 Satoshis on Kraken. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to talk about Bitcoin. And unfortunately, we cannot seem to invite participants to this chat room. So I'm going to do my best to try to get the link out. But I'm having a very, very difficult time doing it. And we're being met with a lot of opposition lately from cyberbullying and cyber terrorists. And today I want to talk about Bitcoin being hijacked by crypto terrorists and miners. Bitcoin really seems to be hitting some major difficulty here in regards to what Bitcoin is supposed to be and what it actually is. Now, I remember a list of notes that I took when I was initially trying to learn, and I still am trying to learn, what this Bitcoin is all about, what the blockchain is all about. And I remember watching Andreas Antonopoulos, who is a very well-known and distinguished keynote speaker on Bitcoin. Now, of course, since then, we've learned others who claim to be experts, such as Omar Bam Crypto on YouTube, the Bitcoin Meister or Adam Meister on YouTube, others on this World Crypto Network, and I don't have all their names memorized, like Richard Hart, Tone Vase. And then there's other scattered YouTube channels that claim to be experts, and we're finding more of them as we go on. We have the Crypto Spark, who claims to be such an expert. And then there's other ones, Crypto Trading Pro, this one and that one. There's been gang activity, trying to corner this Chaincoin for a while. Max Lee on his High on Coins channel, and other experts, that are self-proclaimed experts in this cryptography, Bitcoin, blockchain environment, trying to tell people how it works, what's going on with it, technical analysis, everything you can think of. And then you have the news unit, who tries to find the truth in the news and gets blocked, gets cyberbullied, blocked, channel taken down. And now here we are broadcasting in the weeds on another channel with nobody that can find us, apparently, because nobody seems to be able to get the word out and send the link out to other people and get the thing rolling. You know, we only have 2 subscribers now. So we're operating at extremely limited capacity right now. Very difficult environment, as we are completely under attack, not only by enemies of America, but by enemies of righteousness, of truth, and so forth. And here I am. I tried to learn Bitcoin from Andrea Antonopoulos. And I put a list of things down on paper when I was taking notes from one of his broadcasts a while back. How Bitcoin itself is a very complex subject. Well, that's nice to know. Tell me something I don't know. Well, there's a lot I don't know. And then when they tell you the stuff that you don't know, they tell it to you in such abstract ways that you really don't gain an understanding of what's going on. And then they tell you, well, it's better off experienced rather than explained. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's some of my notes about Bitcoin, which at the onset was apparently developed back in October 2008 on a site called Cypherpunk, whatever that is. And the name Satoshi Nakamoto has been implemented as the developer of Bitcoin, and that's an abstract name, a very, I don't know, it's a pseudonym or what it is. Very unusual. Nobody really came out and said, well, one guy did, I think, in Australia. He said he was Satoshi Nakamoto, and then he got invaded by authorities. So we don't really know what this is or who this is. And then apparently Bitcoin had its birth finally on January 3rd, 2009. I don't know what that means. I guess it was birthed into this blockchain technology. And however the blockchain works, and we've been trying to uncover that mystery for some time, which is very difficult. And then you have these channels, you know, that should be doing what I'm doing, the ones that understand this or claim to understand it, like Crypto Spark. He should come on like I'm coming on right now and explain this stuff, get back to the basics, and tell the end users what is going on here. Come on, you experts. Where are you experts that need to be telling people what is going on in this blockchain cryptosphere, cryptocurrency market with Bitcoin and all these forks in the road and all these conspiracies, theories, conspiracy facts, news reports, investigative journalism, you know, all this stuff lumped together. But anyway, here's what I learned about Bitcoin from Andrea Antonopoulos, one of the keynote speakers on Bitcoin that's known worldwide. He stated here a couple times, I just put these notes down, I'll just kind of give them to you here. Bitcoin is direct peer-to-peer electronic cash. Okay. We've heard about that. It's a complex subject. Very nice. So how does it work and why does it matter? Well, he tries to tell you other things. He tells you, well, it's a random mesh network, you know, so we're supposed to just know this stuff. You know, we get all these terms and definitions thrown at us as what in the world Bitcoin really is. Oh, it's a random mesh network. Well, what does that mean? It's peer-to-peer. Okay. It's crowd. It's a crowd. Everyone is equal in this crowd. Crowd is a term, I guess, that's used in computer lingo. Something to do with a connected network. You know, all people are equal. It's a crowd, whatever. And this crowd exchanges and propagates digital transactions with one another in this digital format with these blockchains and with these you know, these encrypted addresses, if you want to call them that, these keys, Bitcoin keys, wallet keys, etc. In this digital format, they transfer value between participants, you know, using Bitcoin. And I hate this statement, but that's what they do. You know, after they explain all this stuff, they tell you, well, it's much easier experience rather than explained. Just download your wallet on your iPhone, on your Android, on your PC. Just get a hardware device Just listen to the Bitcoin Meister or some other guy, crypto, this one, that one, any other one. And listen to them tell you that nobody controls this network. That's what they've been telling us. Well, folks, we've been lied to because the miners control it. And where are the miners? Well, I'm starting to learn that if there's any truth in these reports from like World Crypto Network and other reports that are floating around YouTube, if the miners are from generally China and Korea, they control this thing now. And what have they done recently? Well, we'll get to that because they've increased the transaction fees by at least 20%, if not 25%. And it's really getting bad for Bitcoin right now after that fork. But let me get back to Andrea Antonopoulos' little keywords and phrases about what Bitcoin is. Nobody controls this network. Oh, really? Oh, really? It's decentralized. You love that term. We've heard that enough. It's independent of institutions and authority. Oh, really? So what are the miners? Everybody's dependent on their institution. And now all of a sudden, the miners have hijacked Bitcoin, cornered the market. They're stealing Bitcoin through transaction fees. And by the time your confirmations go by and your Bitcoin is transferred wherever you're transferring it to, from one location to another via the blockchain, via your wallet, to an exchange, to some other party for a payment or whatever, you know, you're losing 20%. So your one Bitcoin that you transfer is now worth 0.8 or less. What's going on here? This is crypto terrorism. Crypto terrorism, ladies and gentlemen. And this is not about what we've heard by people like Andrea Antonopoulos and others who tell us all about Bitcoin and the blockchain and all these other cryptocurrencies and how this market works. This is not developing trust through collaboration, computation, and communication. All right? It's not just about transmitting money or exchanging money anymore. It's about stealing money. It's about stealing Bitcoin. It's about cyberbullying. It's about hacking. It's about controlling the blockchain. This whole infrastructure has been hijacked, probably has been from the beginning. Some of the truth is leaking out on what this is turning into. And now we're going to probably see the world authority and the banking system come in and rescue it from utter destruction if they decided to, or maybe they're in on it. I don't even know that answer. So those various reports and insinuations that come about, you know, in the world of conspiracy theories, etc. What a complex way of discussing this. It's so complicated, this Bitcoin environment, and the forks now that are in the road and the forks to come. And we're learning now that all other cryptocurrencies fork. And then let me just finish some of these things that Andrea Antonopoulos was telling us about Bitcoin. He said that this is unlike any form of money we have ever seen. And of course, this is going to be unlike the problems too that go along with it are going to be unlike any we've ever seen. Okay. And we're already beginning to see that. It's an abstract value or token. He stated that it's immutable, eternal, and it contains a promise. Yeah, it's the promise of more chaos and trouble ahead. Listen, this is not demonstrating a community that's improving the monetary system anymore. This is demonstrating more corruption and how man's sin problem completely creeps into the cryptosphere and corrupts it. Anything involved, anything where man is involved is going to be corrupted. Corruption creeps in. The sin problem comes in, and it's just the same thing all over again. So they tell you they're going to make the world a better place. Cryptocurrencies. This is going to be wonderful. We're all going to be connected, tracked, blockchain, the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything, however you want to put it. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. The next best thing, as was stated in the Cisco commercials, is not a thing at all, but lots of things. Where trees talk to ambulances, that talk to hospitals, that talk to bank accounts, that talk to this one and that one, and track you on the blockchain and keep track of you, and implants, and this and that, and every other thing that goes with it. And 666, the mark of the beast, the man of sin, the son of perdition, the Antichrist, the beast and false prophet that are going to be tormented day and night forever. And if you take this mark, you're not in the Lamb's book of life and all these other things. Wow, we are here. Many shall run to and fro. Knowledge shall be increased. This stuff is happening right before us. And ladies and gentlemen, what a load of chaos if you cannot see and discern what is going on. Then you need your eyes opened and your understanding increased. Abstract value of Bitcoin, no physical form, intangible, digital money, but guess what? They call it an asset. They call it a commodity, Bitcoin. What is this Bitcoin? Why are these miners from China and Korea charging 20% for transaction fees or more now all of a sudden? All of a sudden, they forked Bitcoin into Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin, and now the miners were chasing around wondering if they should get involved in Bitcoin Cash or just stay with Bitcoin. So there was all sorts of discussion about that. Well, somebody left a comment on my video that I just uploaded on the other channel. And I have to go live on this channel because I can't go live on the other channel. So in order to get some of the words out and try to get somebody here to participate, which I can't do right now, I'm trying to get Tacos in here because he had a couple things that he wanted to talk about. And he just uploaded a video with me on it. We don't know if the audio worked too well. He did an interview with me. We're just limping around here trying to get the truth and the news out. It's very difficult. We wish that some of you folks out there in Radio Land and YouTube Land could help the news unit and get the link out to this video, at least to somebody. So if you're listening and you can get this link out, if you can get this live link, which is not linked to my other channel, please do so. Please get the word out that we're broadcasting here and trying to find the truth and the news on Bitcoin and looking at these different topics and things that are coming about with these Bitcoin mining companies. Let me refresh this, what I'm talking about today in general. I'm talking about the discussion and reports that are surfacing, and it really hasn't hit the headlines yet, per se. It's been talked about on some channels, and it's really hard to find it and dig it out. It would take a lot to get these links out, but I'm going to be working on that a little bit. And we need more people to make videos now in the crypto sphere. Whoever you are, I don't care who you are, just as long as you're getting, to the best of your ability, the truth and the news out. Bitcoin has been hijacked by crypto terrorists and mining companies. Okay? This, all of a sudden, is being reported by the end users of Bitcoin. They're transferring their Bitcoin. They're getting 20% transaction fees levied against them. Now, who ever heard of this? Because if you transfer one Bitcoin and it cost you $800 to do it, what's the point? Where have we gone now with this? What happened to Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer transaction and every wonderful thing that it was about, and how it's independent of institutions and authority and decentralized? Now we're finding out that it actually is centralized. And I heard at the end of a recent broadcast on the Crypto Network News, or whatever they call themselves, I just can't remember the name of their channel. It's the one with Tone Vase and Richard Hart on it. Crypto something network, Crypto News Network. I'll have to look at it again. But they also call themselves, it's interesting, I think at the beginning of the show, they call it Today in Bitcoin, kind of like the Meister does. So they kind of work together with the Bitcoin Meister. And although they don't have him on their show as much, he kind of does his own little thing and travels around the world. He's the international consultant, the Bitcoin Meister. He travels around the world giving advice to companies and MGTOWs and how to use a Trezor for 0.15 Bitcoin an hour. And, you know, all these guys are talking about stuff. And allegedly they know what they're talking about, or do they? I don't know what's going on here. What do we got going on here, folks? Does anybody really know? Does anybody really know what this Bitcoin is? What is this Bitcoin? Oh, it's better off experienced rather than explained, isn't it? Look, here's what we know right now. Bitcoin fork, this is from an end user like me that doesn't know anything. And I'm trying to figure this out. But all the people that know, you know, that this language that they speak in is like foreign to me, you know? They've been telling me that, you know, how much, and even other people in general just telling you how much they know. And I'm finding out how much they don't know. So there's a lot we don't know still. Too much. It's the unknown. This abstract Bitcoin environment, this cryptocurrency market. This unique form of money unlike we've ever seen before. It's all of a sudden, now Bitcoin forks into Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. Now another fork is coming, Bitcoin 2X or something, or Bitcoin Core, I can't remember. Then we're hearing, to top it off, I want to try to stay on Bitcoin, but I can't help but explain this one. Then we're hearing that Ethereum is going to fork, Litecoin is going to fork. They all fork. So what does this all mean? What does this all mean, ladies and gentlemen, with all these forks in the road for cryptocurrencies? They tell us that it's so great compared to the US dollar because there's only a finite number of Bitcoins, but then when it forks, then we have twice as many Bitcoins. It forks again. We have 3 times as many. It forks again, 4 times. Fork, 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 one fork after the other. And I can't get my participants in here on the broadcast. What is going on? What is going on? Can't get them in here. Cannot do it. Very strange. We are being censored here at the news unit to the point where I don't know if I'm touching a nerve with people. Does that bother people to try to find the truth in the news, to do investigative journalism? Does it bother people to have an opinion to which I am entitled? Does it bother people to discuss current events and topics that are going on right now? That I guess it does. I guess we're supposed to be just followers of all these channels, like the crypto. I'm going to get this channel name finally down, where Tone Vase and all them congregate. Let me finally do this, because I had their videos up. The name of the channel on Bitcoin that I'm always making a reference to, that I keep forgetting what it is the World Crypto Network. Okay, World, W-O-R-L-D, Crypto, C-R-Y-P-T-O Network. 3 words, World Crypto Network. And somebody just left a comment on my video that I uploaded on the other channel. This is the backup channel for broadcasting. Somebody left a comment. Let me read it to you. They said, "Find the facts here." I think I'm going to play this video right now. It's a video that's titled "Economic Code of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, August 2017." And this person that left this message here writes, "Gotta have a healthy dose of skepticism with what they say on World Crypto Network. Tony Vase et al., which means and others. I don't know if it's Tony or Tone Vase, but anyway, Tone Vase and others were calling $50 on Bitcoin Cash when it first came out. Unfortunately, a lot of people sold it at all-time lows and missed out. So now Bitcoin Cash is up. There is a huge amount, folks. And let me read the rest of this comment. And he also continues to write. He says, Tony Vase also has been calling Ethereum a scam in some of his earlier videos, and he puts a link down. But he writes, and this is troubling because, you know, I go to the World Crypto Network for information, hoping that these guys are legitimate sources, and they appear to be to me. And wow, look at this crazy stuff. I got sidetracked just now looking at Jeff Berwick's latest video title, and we'll get to that in a moment. Anyway, this guy writes in my comments, he says, these guys do not have the people's best interests at heart. Their purpose is to further their agenda by manipulating people's perception of the cryptosphere, much like what the corporate-owned mainstream media does. So we got a lot of stuff going on here that's creating chaos, contention, confusion, every evil work. And let me just sidetrack into what I just saw here with Jeff Berwick's title of a video. And this is another thing what people are doing. They're getting off into these crazy things. Listen to this. Questioning the globe. This is the title of the video. Questioning the globe is about more than flat Earth. It is about questioning everything. And he's walking around. Probably one of his symposiums again. He travels all over the place too. Jeff Berwick, he's a big keynote speaker. He got rich on Bitcoin. A lot of people did. And continue to do, I believe. And this fork thing and all this manipulation is being done to just mess with people, I guess. Like this commentator posted on one of my videos. He said, these guys do not have the people's best interests at heart. Their purpose is to further their agenda by manipulating people's perception of the cryptosphere, much like what the corporate-owned mainstream media does. So I'm not trying to manipulate anybody about your perception of the cryptosphere. But when you start finding out that we've been lied to about what this really is and what it's becoming, but see all the red flags start to go up. How can you possibly help that? As we're talking about flat Earth, it's just one thing to another. And where's this gonna wind up? Where's this gonna wind up? Is this the beginning of the end for Bitcoin and all the rest of them? Is this going to be over? I mean, when you have all these uncertainties now in a market like this, markets don't like uncertainty. We know that. Wall Street, we've learned that from Wall Street. But then at the same time, we have Wall Street, we have the CME, we have the Chicago Board of Exchange, Chicago Mercantile Exchange, other exchanges talking about implementing Bitcoin on the futures markets, currency pairs, Wall Street, different things like ETFs, ETNs, and different investment tools now being discussed with firms about Bitcoin. Everybody's interested in Bitcoin. Well, look what happens. The Chinese miners, the Korean miners, corner the market, hijack the Bitcoin, charge 20% fees now to move your Bitcoin around. They want to own your Bitcoin. So what's going on with Bitcoin? That's the question. I'm fielding the question this morning and today. What is going on with Bitcoin? Does anybody really know? What are we being told? Are we being told the truth by the World Crypto Network? Are we being told the truth by Bitcoin Meister, Crypto, Omar Bam? How about Crypto Spark, who used to be Freedom Force USA, or still is, but now he's forked into another YouTube channel called Crypto Spark. Everybody's forking. I had a fork too because I've been flagged and attacked by cyber bullies, cyber terrorists. Now we have all these cyber terrorists hijacking Bitcoin, the miners on the blockchain, which is supposed to be so secure. and so immune to authority and decentralized, independent of institutions, etc. But now we are finding out that the miners are wreaking havoc with Bitcoin. And we don't even know the truth about Bitcoin Cash, what that's all about. Some people can't even retrieve it yet. And now if you move your Bitcoin off a hardware device, update your firmware, you'll lose 20% of your Bitcoin, perhaps, in the transaction fees. So, danger signs are setting into the cryptosphere and the entire Bitcoin cryptocurrency market. The One World Reserve cryptocurrency has been hijacked now by the mining companies of China and Korea, from what I hear, allegedly. And trying to find the truth in this news is just like looking for a needle in a haystack, right? So we were led just now by a comment by one of my readers. And I don't care if I get 1 view, 2 views, or no views. It's I'm getting the word out, and I'm trying to find the truth in the news, and I will continue to try to do investigatory journalism on Bitcoin, the blockchain, the entire cryptosphere, and try to find some links that are valuable, invaluable, they always call it, to the listeners. And I'll post them up at TheNewsUNit.com. But let's go find out what this post is all about. And I see I got a couple of participants now. All of a sudden, Buddy Time is in here and Rich is in here. Good morning, guys. Good morning to you.
Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen. Bist du einer Jellyfish? Buddy Time? Booty Time.
What's that, bud?
Good morning. You're the one that brought it to my attention that tell the listeners what your experience is with Bitcoin right now so people know the truth. I mean, they accuse me of, spreading FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And you're the one who brought it to my attention, one of them, who are telling me about what's going on with Bitcoin firsthand with transaction fees. Tell us what you know.
Yeah, I heard the rumor too, so I wanted to test it. So I just sent a small amount of Bitcoin. I sent $25 over to a different exchange. And not only did it take about 4 hours, but they also took a 20% fee. They charged me $5 to move 25. So the rumor is true, and that's why I did it with a small amount to test it.
There you are, ladies and gentlemen.
And you can go ahead and do it, yourself. If you don't believe it, go ahead and try it for yourself.
So try it for yourself. So the miners love it, and in fact, it's sad because they're laughing right now. Later they'll laugh at this video because 100,000 people are going to try it for $25 because it, doesn't a $5 loss to them. It's too bad, but that's going to get 500 or $500,000 or $1 million or more or several $1 million to the miners. And think about the amount of money that's going to go to the miners unawares. Somebody just decides to move Bitcoin, say 2 or 3 Bitcoin, and then they end up losing 20% of their 2 or 3 Bitcoin. They're like, holy cow, I just lost $2,500 to transfer 3 Bitcoin. And they're going to be like, what happened here?
Yeah, I thought it was a misprint because I moved 0.0061 Bitcoin, but I only received 0.0049 Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, there was some talk about it on that World Crypto Network, and I saw some posts that I didn't understand on Twitter. It'd probably be good to follow. I think his name is Richard Hart on Twitter. He's one of the Tone Vase guys over there. I call him the Tone Vase guys because Tone Vase is some big figure in Bitcoin too. He's part of the Bitcoin Meister crowd. I don't even know how to describe these guys in the World Crypto Network. When it comes to credentials and describing people in the cryptosphere, that's another abstract thing because You got a lot of guys that walk around in their board shorts and their, t-shirts on their skateboards that work on computers and mining all the time. That they title themselves as CEOs, chief investment officers, hack. What do they call themselves? They call themselves hackers too. Hack, whatever. There's names for all these guys now. It's an incredible amount of descriptive new terminology coming out. We're just going to need a new book of terms and definitions to get through all this eventually. Good morning, Rich. What do you see in all this stuff? Have you checked into this chaos? I mean, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, here we are.
I got Mr. Hertz broadcast, but I'm not necessarily watching it right now. I've heard a lot about the Bitcoin. And if you look at the geopolitics, everything's always coming together. The world are kind of going down, and especially what happened with Egypt. So you look at what's happening in Bitcoin, it's actually kind of synchronizing with the other markets. It's all coming to a close, coming to an end. But I can't be 100% certain. I'm gonna have to wait until I get the full information on it.
Right, but that's what we're doing. We're little by little, we're trying to piece this all together and monitor the breakdown, the entire entropy of the world, basically.
Yeah, piecing the puzzle, piecing together the jigsaw puzzle. In other words.
Right. As it falls apart, we're trying to piece it together to understand it yet. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird concept, but it is what it is. It's better off experienced rather than explained, of course. And experience it, we all are. That's the sad part. We really are experiencing it. And of course, I explain a lot of it, by means of the Bible, because that's what I believe is happening. That we're seeing the results of fulfillment of prophecy and the ongoing fruits of all this sin and the curse that's been upon man since death passed upon all men for all of sin and all of that. And it's interesting to watch. I mean, you watch our nation too with President Trump at the recent rally in Arizona, and how an attempt is being made to make America great again, which I believe indeed it is being attempted. But at the same time, the enemies of America, like these blockchain terrorist miners, are doing whatever they can to tear down what was initially intended to be a good thing. So you have everybody at odds with one another, not only here in the United States, with the political realm of being divided in our country against the Trump administration and making America great again, constitutional issues, etc., all these things. But you have the blockchain, the global cryptocurrency market that was supposed to be the best thing, and it's going to make the world a better place and have us all connected on the blockchain, which it probably still will, but it'll be taken over by the government. We're watching all these things working together. It is a very huge complexity, isn't it? It really is.
Oh yeah, especially when you hear about Ukrainian lawmakers hoarding 40 billion Bitcoin, and many of the other developments that are happening in the world with this cryptocurrency.
There's some kind of value to Bitcoin that we don't even understand. That these high levels, these men in high places, if you want to call it that, they want it. The Chinese miners, the Korean miners, now they're basically stealing Bitcoin right out of your wallet, your hardware wallet, your paper wallet, whatever. You transfer Bitcoin right now, 20%, just like that, goes to the miners.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the headlines. It says here, this is from Business Insider. Mark Cuban is trying to fix social media's biggest problems by backing a company mixing Bitcoin technology with messaging. Yeah, there's going to be social media with Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, everything's going to be on this blockchain now or whatever. It's, I really, when you see these headlines, though, I still don't understand what this is. I mean, none of us really do. They're just bringing it out You know, it's, of course, you know, I don't understand how a computer works all the time. We're just the end users. But I guess they got us all where they want us, right? They pretty much have us all where they want us. The end user is in obedience training to whatever's happening. Just to experience it rather than explain it. Believe it, trust and ignore. Keep your head down on your smart device. Buy Bitcoin, transfer Bitcoin, pay the fees, and you'll be a good little end user, and that's all that's necessary. But, you know, some of the end users are starting to wake up a little bit and try to find out the truth in the news, and then there's where the problem comes in, because it, you know, you start to understand that, well, the blockchain wasn't quite what I thought it was. It really is servers that are holding our Bitcoin somewhere, and they can't even get their servers to run right after a fork, and they can't extract Bitcoin Cash and put it on the wallets properly and allow you to transact properly and this and that. So, you know, this is all like a work in progress. Yes, open source and everything, but the fact that we have all these cyber terrorists that are getting into this blockchain now and creating this labyrinth of chaos and confusion. The road that this is on seems to be heading for more problems than more solutions. You know, they always talk about solutions and fixes to software, you know, improving this and that through segregated witness, transaction speeds. Well, what's happening to all that stuff? Now another fork threatens Bitcoin. We're finding out that other cryptocurrencies, they all fork. So it almost sounds to me like a crypto quantitative easing, like more and more cryptocurrency being created out of thin air. Just and then being manipulated yet by these insiders. So basically you have the bank, you have just a repeat of what we have in the other world market casino. Now you have this crypto casino. And
yeah, I mean, even major corporations are getting on it, like Burger King. They're allegedly launching its own cryptocurrency. That's from today. Though it's gonna be a Whopper coin, right?
I guess. And then Ronald coin for McDonald's. I don't know.
Yeah, but Burger King, Russia, right?
But if the transactions, you know, and then you have this, there's different ways of doing the coins or something. I don't understand it all. Proof of work, and then proof of POS. What's the other one? Proof of something. I can't remember what it is.
Proof of stake.
Proof of stake. Yeah. How do you can you like give us the plain language explanation of that, buddy time? What does that mean to you when somebody tells you the difference is proof of stake and proof of work? What does that mean to you?
Well, proof of work means that you have to pay off miners. So whenever you move money, the miners charge a fee to process your transactions.
So there you are with your report on what's happening to you in Bitcoin. And that's an example of proof of work, what's going on with Bitcoin right now. Correct?
Correct. And, you know, you always used to hear that, you know, mining Bitcoin isn't profitable anymore. You know, people mine other stuff. Well, Bitcoin just became extremely profitable to mine. So I guess you can toss that out the window.
So what's proof of stake?
Proof of stake is no miners to pay off. Basically, the coin holders stake their own coins. Staking is just another term for processing the transactions or mining. So you're basically mining and processing the coins, but they call it proof of stake because only the coin holders can do that. So the fees are extremely low on those type of coins, usually fractions of a coin to move a large amount.
I wonder if so maybe Doge is proof of stake and maybe LITECOIN might be proof of stake. Is that possible? I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing. But what do you think?
No, those are proof of work.
They are. Okay. Why are they so low anyway on fees?
We don't know. We were talking about that the other day. Maybe they have an extremely high number of master nodes processing transactions. I don't know.
Okay, so there's a lot of complexities and unknowns. Yeah, see, that's where we're at. And it'd be nice to hear more about this. But what's interesting to me too is that it seems like if a coin, I'm guessing now, you know, if a coin gets busy, such as Bitcoin, whatever, and it just heads for the fork in the road that is inevitable. I don't understand why they can't improve the software to make it so that it transacts fast no matter what, and you still have the finite amount of coins like you're supposed to have, right? So why fork it and get more coins? It's like a crypto quantitative easing. Weird stuff going on with this market. And I don't know if we can get slowly some exposure to that is to expose these unanswered questions about this market and these market conditions, that would be nice. Now, it's possible that I found a little link here. One of the listeners did send me a link. He said, find the facts here on this particular video. Never been here before. The title of the YouTube channel is Roger Ver, V-E-R. And it says here, on the economic code of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Now, I don't know, but it says here, in this video, I explain why the economic code of Bitcoin is so important and why we may see a flip to Bitcoin Cash or something other than Bitcoin Legacy. Bitcoin Legacy now. Is that going to be another one? Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Legacy, because of Blockstream's intentional full block and high fee policy. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. People are starting to talk about this, but it just hasn't trickled down to those of us end users that aren't the experts in computer technology. You know? So here we go. Maybe we should listen to this. I'll play this a little bit and see what we can find out. It doesn't look like there's an awful lot of oh yeah, there are 489 comments to this video. Wow. So we'll see what we can find out. What's weird about this though is that he has 708 likes and 380 dislikes. So that proves to me, even though there's 21,000 views on this video, that there's a lot of enemies that are divided in the Bitcosphere against Bitcoin or for Bitcoin or what's going on with the miners. You know, maybe too much is leaking out too. Maybe people are starting to find out that what was originally explained to us in regards to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies was in fact a lie and complete misinformation to deceive us into thinking that it was something that it was not. I think we're onto something there. I think at least that somewhat explains what I'm trying to portray. How about you, Rich? You agree with that? That this is a deceptive market that has been that has misled a lot of people and has been not described accurately to the end users. And now we're starting to find out that some of the underlying truths of this particular blockchain environment with Bitcoin and everything and the things that are going on were not what they were supposed to be originally. Decentralized and, you know, all these things like independent of institutions and authority. And all of a sudden we're finding out, well, indeed, there is manipulation. There is centralization of Bitcoin with the mining companies. And now they're increasing these fees and making a lot of money on people and hijacking Bitcoin and all sorts of things that don't develop trust. That's for sure, but develop more distrust.
I've been gathering is that Bitcoin has been either funded or completely stirred up by the CIA. One of these alphabet agencies, I believe, created it and got that whole cryptocurrency blockchain, popular. Because I think that if the United States government really did not want this Bitcoin out, they wanted to just shut it down completely. As just like everything else that they shut it down, now they shut down underground economies or things that do not necessarily fit into the system. And in terms of the cryptocurrency manipulation, it's been like that for years. If you look at the Rothschilds, you look at the Rockefellers, and many of these different elite central banking families, they always talk about how they got control over. They even brag about it, Nathan Rothschild, and they got control over a lot of these currencies. And I believe that this is nothing different. That the Bitcoin bubble is getting ready to pop, and it's just. I mean, unfortunately, it's just tacos might be right. Tacos might be right. It looks like kind of looks like 2001 .com bubble again.
Wow. Yeah. I was trying to get him in here. He uploaded a video this morning. I was on his show this morning because of the nature of everything going on here with our channels and the attacks that are being levied against us with free speech and, of course, you know, Google and everything. Interesting observations about the cryptosphere that you make there. Kind of ties into the evil men in high places. And it doesn't surprise me that they would create something like this and create all this chaos and crisis, because one of the catchphrases that we've heard before is never let a good crisis go to waste. So wouldn't that be just par for the course to create cryptocurrencies, to create more crisis, and to just, you know, manufacture this crisis that they indeed support, because they can't let that go to waste. They're gonna profit on it, and indeed they are. They use Bitcoin to fund their nonprofit organizations and campaigns. They use Bitcoin for a lot of things. It's not just the dark web anymore. It's come out into the regular web now. We all know this. So the darkness of the dark web has come out into the light of the World Wide Web. And here it is. So I guess we just get used to it, right? We try to navigate the labyrinth and see if we can make it to the other side and get the cheese like good little mice. That's about the size of it. And I'm going to listen to this video now. Let's see if we can find out some more truth in the news, right? At least to make an attempt at it. And this video is been referred to me by Jeff's email, making a comment on my video titled "Bitcoin Hijacked and Hoarded by Mining Companies. Transaction fees up to 25%. This gentleman leaves this link. He says, find the facts here. So let's find some facts, folks, by listening to Roger Ver's 28-minute report titled Roger Ver on the Economic Code of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. I don't even know who Roger Ver is, but this is how investigative journalism works. This is what the news unit is all about.
You don't know who Roger Ver is, Dave?
Not offhand.
He's only the biggest douchebag in all of cryptocurrency.
Oh, I want to hear this. Tell me.
He's the guy who keeps pumping Bitcoin Cash. He was pumping Bitcoin Unlimited for a long time. He's the guy who wants all the forks.
Really?
Oh, yeah. If you Google the rich list, he's on the top 10 rich list of Bitcoin, up there with, you know, Bill Gates and the Overstock CEO and all them.
Well, see, this is what people need to know. Exactly what you're talking about. You know, this is the kind of stuff that we don't hear on a regular basis. Now, you've done some investigatory work of your own, but I don't hear this discussed too much. You know, I must be listening to the wrong people. I got to get away from the Bitcoin Meister. And, you know, obviously listening to Roger Ver may be annoying, but yet you'll find out what these guys are thinking. You know what I mean? What they're up to. But so he's a troublemaker then, according to what you.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, you know, I don't want to hear him or have you play him. Go ahead and play him, but I just wanted to let you know who he is.
No, I'm glad you did. No, I want to know this. Yeah, because I want to know what what your thoughts are and what you've heard.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not near a computer now, but go ahead and Google Roger Ver or Google the rich list and see what number he is on the Bitcoin rich list.
Okay, I don't know where to find it, but just Google Bitcoin rich list.
Yep.
All right, let's see what we got here. Bitcoin rich list. BitInfo charts or Bitcoin rich wallets distribution. The largest Bitcoin wallets, top 100 Bitcoin addresses. Let's see if we get, let's just see. Well, I'll just grab one of these and see if we can Okay, they just got addresses, no names. Wow, some people got 120,000 Bitcoins. Can you believe that? Holy cow, man. 93,000 Bitcoins, 30,000 Bitcoins. Look at all them Bitcoins. Bitcoin rich list. Let's see. I'm trying to find it here. No names, just addresses. Bitcoin rich wallet distributions. Okay, we'll have to top 500 richest Bitcoin. Maybe that's on here. Let me see what we got here. Number one is Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is. Has 980,000 apparently. Roger Ver comes in at number 6. Look at this. Then you got HD Moore at 400,000 Bitcoins. Dustin D. Trammell, somebody, 400,000 Bitcoins. Todd Birdsley. Then Dread Pirate Roberts, a.k.a. DPR. Then Roger Ver has 300,000 Bitcoins. So Roger Ver, if he owns 300,000 Bitcoins, at 4,100 a Bitcoin, he has $1.2 billion in Bitcoin. So he's a billionaire. He's a Bitcoin billionaire. The FBI owns 174,000 Bitcoins. It's a lot of money in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I believe the FBI's coins are going to be auctioned off here shortly, if I remember right.
Maybe that's why they're pumping the price up. They got to make some money. So there's a lot of neat things going on behind the scene. Who knows exactly how it all works? But they throw the end users like us a bone every now and then so that we can believe what they want us to believe. And I guess that's what we're going to do here while we listen to Roger Ver, one of the top 6 Bitcoin holders. You are about to listen to a Bitcoin billionaire. Economic code of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. This was put out August 19th, 2017. And wow. Let's listen in.
Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Legacy today. Hi everyone. This is Roger Ver. It's Saturday, August 19th. And I want to show you guys a presentation that I made for the Pantera Bitcoin group back in March of earlier this year. But in light of everything that's going on with Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Legacy today, I think that this is very relevant. So keep in mind that these slides, again, are back from March. So it was about 6 months ago, but I think they're still very relevant here. So we'll start off with what is Bitcoin, right? Of course, we all think we know what Bitcoin is, but I want to talk about why I think Bitcoin is important. So right.
I don't know the gentleman here, but, we got sort of an introduction to who he is a little bit. He's one of the top 6 Bitcoin holders in the world, I believe. And he's got over $1 billion US in Bitcoin. And, this is just another demonstration of telling people like us that don't know anything what this is all about. So let's listen and learn. This is TheNewsUNit.com on the YouTube video network. Let's listen in.
From the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, the title is that it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. I think that's important to keep in mind that that's the original title of the white paper. But what makes up a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, right? We need to have good money. Cash means good money. And here are the characteristics that make something good money. And we can start that it's, easy to store, hard to counterfeit, scarce, divisible, homogeneous. That's a little bit lacking in Bitcoin, but there's room for improvement there. Anyhow, durable, and then easy to transport.
Here we go again with the same presentation that we're always given. Hard to counterfeit, divisible and all this, durable, easy to store, easy to transport. Nothing could be farther from the truth from the end user who watches transaction confirmations take all day, and people that have lost their Bitcoin can't even extract Bitcoin Cash out of a wallet. That's not easy to store. They still want us to believe this, don't they? They still want us to believe that everything's great. It works terrific. And all of that. I don't even know if I want to listen to this now. Do you? I mean, it just seems like we go from one thing to another, and it's the same broken record.
Well, I told you he's only the biggest douchebag in crypto.
Yeah. Good warning. Let's listen to a little bit of it.
And that's the one that I think we need to focus on a bit more. And Core in their roadmap are intentionally damaging Bitcoin's ease of transport by making the blocks full and the fees high and the confirmation times long and the double spins easy. That's damaging one of these incredibly important characteristics of Bitcoin that make Bitcoin useful as money. And if you damage any of these characteristics here, Bitcoin is then less useful as money than it otherwise would have been. So it's very, very important not to damage any of these. And unfortunately, Core's roadmap is intentionally damaging the ease of transport for Bitcoin. And if you've been around Bitcoin for a while, you'll know exactly what this chart is. And again, this is back from March. Now we've been bumping up against the limit for a while here. But you can see for all of Bitcoin's history, the blocks were never, ever full. There was tons of room for additional transactions until the beginning of this year. Around March, the blocks became completely full. And that, when the blocks became full, that caused the average confirmation time to skyrocket. Around the time that I took this screenshot in March earlier this year, the average confirmation time was about 2 hours for a Bitcoin transaction that previously would always be confirmed in about 10 minutes because there was always plenty of room in the blocks for every transaction to be included. And around the same time that the blocks became full, everyone had to bid against each other for room in that block, and the fees that people had to pay to use Bitcoin skyrocketed from being something very reasonable, around a penny a transaction, to where people were paying $250,000 per day in transaction fees just to use the Bitcoin network. And the fees are somewhere in that same ballpark today. And right around that exact same time that the blocks became full and the fees skyrocketed, Bitcoin's share of the total market cap plummeted. And we can see that right here. And back when I took the screenshot, it was still above 60%. Today, Bitcoin is below 50%. And that brings us back to the economic code of Bitcoin that I love to say is so incredibly important. And a really basic concept in economics is something called substitute goods. And it's important to understand the definition of what a substitute good is. And substitute goods are two goods that could be used for the same purpose. If the price of one good increases, then demand for the substitute is likely to rise. So in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, there's a bunch of substitute goods, right? We have Bitcoin, LITECOin, ETHEREUM, Monero, Dash, Dogecoin, take your pick. There's 1,001 altcoins out there with similar characteristics. Some are certainly better than others. Some have bigger network effects than others, but there's a lot of competition there, and things like Shapeshift and the Jacks.io wallet that make it so incredibly easy to convert from one Bitcoin to another, make it really, really easy to substitute one of these cryptocurrencies for another if one's not working for you. And we saw that happen exactly at the same time when the blocks became full and the fees skyrocketed and the confirmation delays increased in a huge amount for Bitcoin. We saw Bitcoin's share of the market cap plummet at the exact same time the altcoins rose like crazy. And that's because people are using altcoins as a substitute good for Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin's no longer the easiest, fastest, and the cheapest and safest way for them to use their money, they're going to start using one of these substitute goods. And that's why we've seen the altcoins just skyrocket as far as their total market cap goes. And the reason for that is because we have these people at Bitcoin Core and Blockstream. And they openly and intentionally advocate for 1 megabyte blocks. and they intentionally and openly advocate that they want to create high fees on the Bitcoin network, and they openly state that they want the blocks to be full. And that causes a horrible user experience for Bitcoin. And full blocks lead to high fees, long waits, and a horrible user experience. Anybody that's tried to use Bitcoin recently knows that the fees are crazy, the waits for confirmation are crazy, and just the overall user experience is horrible. Before I decided to make this video this morning, I sent a Bitcoin transaction, and I think it was like $75 in fees. I can pull it up here while we do that, but it's just, you know, what an incredibly frustrating thing for someone that's been involved in Bitcoin. You realize that for the entire history of Bitcoin, up until the time the blocks became full, you could send and receive any amount of money with anyone, anywhere in the world. And it was basically free. You can't say that anymore. Now it's incredibly expensive. So it was $59 to send some Bitcoins there earlier this morning. There's a lot of substitute goods that are cheaper and easier to and faster than Bitcoin. The only thing that's lacking for those other ones are the giant network effect that Bitcoin has and that first mover advantage. But if we have, you know, this horrible user experience, that's going to result in fewer users, fewer nodes, lower adoption, and a lower Bitcoin market cap. And I hear so many of these Bitcoin Core and Blockstream supporters saying, oh, look at Bitcoin, it's at an all-time high in price. Yeah, that's true. But we have to stop and think for a minute. If Bitcoin had continued to have a good user experience, what would the price be today? Maybe instead of it being $4,000 per Bitcoin today, we would already be at $40,000 per Bitcoin today. But instead, Bitcoin has this horrible user experience. People are starting to use Ethereum and Dash and altcoins and this and that. Whereas otherwise, if Bitcoin had continued to have a good user experience, they would have just continued to use Bitcoin. And that brings us back to the economics. If you get the economics wrong, it doesn't matter how good of a programmer you are. The economic code is incredibly important when it comes to Bitcoin. And we have some quotes here from Bitcoin Core and Blockstream supporters. And here's Greg Maxwell, the CTO of Blockstream, openly saying that he doesn't think that transaction fees mattering are a failing, it's a success. And we can see right here, when the transaction fees skyrocketed, Bitcoin's total share of the market cap of crypto coins plummeted. And I provided the links to all of these quotes right in the bottom of these slides. All of these slides, this whole presentation is available over at rogerveer.com. If you click on the slideshow link at the bottom, you can download all of these. And the name of this one is Pantera, March 2017. And again, we have Greg Maxwell saying that fee pressure is an intentional part of the system's design, and to the best of the current understanding, essential for the system's long-term survival. So yes, it's good. And I'd like to point out once again that as soon as the fees skyrocketed on Bitcoin, Bitcoin's total share of the market cap plummeted. And at the time I took this screenshot back in March, it was at 60-something%. Now it's below 50%. So it's gone down even more. So if you get the economics wrong, it doesn't matter how good of a computer scientist you are or a computer programmer or any of the other stuff. You have to have the economics right, or the system's not gonna work. And again, here we have Greg Maxwell saying there's nothing wrong with full blocks, but we can see incredibly clearly that there's something horribly wrong with full blocks. As soon as the blocks became full, Bitcoin's market share plummeted, absolutely plummeted, and because the user experience becomes horrible with full blocks. And again, we have Greg Maxwell saying full blocks is the natural state of the system. But that's absolutely ridiculous. We can see here in the picture here, we have the 8-year history of Bitcoin. The blocks weren't full until very, very recently. So the full block certainly is not the natural state of the system. And we should never, ever have full blocks. It creates this horrible user experience for the users of Bitcoin and forces them to start using things other than Bitcoin. Again, Greg Maxwell, I'm not trying to pick on him any more than anybody else, just there were plenty of quotes from him because he loves to post all over the internet. And he says there's a consistent fee backlog, which is the required criteria for stability. And again, that's nonsense. It wasn't until very recently that the blocks became full and the fees skyrocketed. And that happened in sync with the Bitcoin share of the crypto coin market space just plummeting. So I'm sure Greg knows a lot of things about a lot of interesting topics. The economic code of Bitcoin is not one of them. Peter Wheely, he says, we as a community should indeed let a fee market develop, and rather sooner than later. And again, I'm sure Peter's a really smart guy about a lot of things. He has a PhD, but the economic code that has made Bitcoin a success is not one of the things that he's knowledgeable about. And again, we can see in the charts here that as soon as the Bitcoin transaction fees skyrocketed, Bitcoin's share of the crypto coin market space plummeted. We have Mark Friedenbach. I'm sure he's a smart guy about a lot of things and very well informed about a lot of things. The economic code that has made Bitcoin a success is not one of them. And he says slow confirmation, high fees will be the norm in any safe outcome. No, if we have slow confirmations and high fees, we're going to see Bitcoin be replaced by the 1,001 substitute goods that are out there waiting to replace Bitcoin. And we can see that from the charts here that when the average confirmation time became really long because of the full blocks, Bitcoin's share of the overall crypto coin market space has plummeted. And Luke Jr., reasonable block sizes currently range from 550 kilobytes to 1 megabyte. Absolute nonsense. I don't think there's too many sane people in the world that think that that's a good idea. It's going to be the end of Bitcoin if we restrict the block size and create this horrible user experience for all the users of Bitcoin. And again, Luke Jr. says it's no longer possible to keep fees low. That's just absolute nonsense. The reason fees are so high is because Bitcoin had this giant network effect. There were already 1 million apps for smartphones and computers and Bitcoin exchanges and merchants that accept Bitcoin. So there's definitely a lot of stickiness that prevents people from wanting to switch from something from Bitcoin to something else. But if the fees get too high and the confirmation times get too long and the user experience gets too bad, people are going to switch, and we've seen that happen in a major way, and that's specifically because the blocks were allowed to become full because these Bitcoin Core and Blockstream guys, in their ignorance of the economic code of Bitcoin, thought that would be a good idea. And I wouldn't be so passionate about this if I didn't own a bunch of Bitcoins. I want to see Bitcoin do well. And again, we have Luke Jr. saying, just pay a $5 fee and it'll go through every time unless you're doing something stupid. Well, maybe that was approximately true back in March when he said that, but just this morning I paid $59 for my fee. And I got included in the next block, but I own the fee for that was 290 Satoshis per byte. So it wasn't a miscalculation on the fee. That's about what the fees need to be at the moment. So, I was sending those Bitcoins that I sent this morning, I was sending them to an exchange to trade them for something other than Bitcoin. So, Thanks, Luke. George Tiemann, another Blockstream and Bitcoin Core participant and Blockstream employee, he says, higher fees may be just what is needed. That's absolute nonsense. No, higher fees are kryptonite to the adoption of Bitcoin and to the user base of Bitcoin, and we can see that plain as day from these charts here. When the fees became really high to use Bitcoin, Bitcoin's percentage of the total market cap of cryptocurrencies plummeted. So no, George, higher fees is exactly what the system doesn't need. Bitcoin is supposed to be frictionless, or as close to frictionless as we can make it, peer-to-peer electronic cash, not some sort of settlement layer with high fees and slow confirmation times. And again, we have George here saying confirmation times are fine for those who pay high fees. No, if the fees become high, people are going to switch to using a cryptocurrency that has fast confirmation times. And it's worth noting that maybe a lot of people that are new to Bitcoin, in the early days of Bitcoin, the policy was first seen, first safe. And that meant that when you broadcasted your transaction to the network, once it had been broadcasted to the network, you were pretty much good to go. And people commonly accepted Bitcoin transactions for tens of thousands of dollars without waiting for a confirmation, depending on the exact circumstances. And you can make Bitcoin zero confirmation transactions very, very, very safe. Certainly not as safe as a transaction that's already had a confirmation or more, but you can make them where they're safe enough to where most of the time people can accept them for most of the things in their life, and it becomes good enough for most things, and that should be the goal. Whereas unfortunately, Bitcoin Core and Blockstream have intentionally undermined the safety of zero confirmation transactions, and that degrades the user experience, and that'll make people want to go and seek out coins that provide a better user experience and use those as a substitute for Bitcoin. And that's exactly what we've seen happening over the last few months. And again, we have George saying, Bitcoin needs a competitive fee market in the long run to sustain proof of work once the subsidies are gone. I'm very happy that we have it now. And I'm sympathetic to that argument, that someday when there's no more block reward whatsoever, we need some fees to incentivize the miners to secure the network. But the block reward doesn't run out for another 100 years. We have more than 100 years until this becomes a problem. And instead of waiting for 100 years to solve this problem, they're causing a problem right now today. They're causing a giant problem on the Bitcoin network today that's causing people to use things other than Bitcoin. So because of some problem that might exist more than 100 years from now, they're intentionally causing a problem today. So that's shows a clear lack of understanding of the economic code that's made Bitcoin a success today. The Bitcoin economic code that made Bitcoin a success is the exact same one that we had for the first 8 years, which was low fees and fast confirmation times for everybody. And they're altering that economic code to disastrous results here. And again, we say that George, in reference to Adam Back, the CEO of Blockstream, he says, I think Adam and I agree that hitting the limit wouldn't be bad, but actually good for a young and immature market like Bitcoin fees. This is absolute nonsense. This is kryptonite to Bitcoin. Bitcoin had an amazing growth rate the first 8 years of Bitcoin when the fees were essentially, basically nothing. You were talking about a penny to use Bitcoin, and Bitcoin went from nobody using it to somewhere around, 10 plus million users around the world, huge amounts of venture capital coming in, a huge adoption for merchants. It was amazing. And we have an 8-year track record knowing that that economic code worked incredibly well to grow Bitcoin and get Bitcoin used by more and more people around the world. If you know something works and works incredibly well, don't change it. Yet here's George claiming that he and Adam want to change this economic code that we already know works to some economic code that we don't know works. And in fact, we have a whole bunch of evidence to say that it doesn't work and it drives people to use something other than Bitcoin. So if something's not broken, don't fix it. Yet that's exactly what these people are trying to do. And here's a quote from Vladimir Vanderlaan, who is a contributor to Bitcoin Core. And he says, a mounting fee pressure resulting in a true fee market where transactions compete to get into blocks results in urgency to develop decentralized off-chain solutions. And we have these charts here showing that Bitcoin, when the fees became high and the fee pressure was there, Bitcoin's share of market cap plummeted. So yeah, it made some people develop off-chain solutions for Bitcoin, meaning using Bitcoin banks like Coinbase and Zappo and Bitcoin exchanges that hold the Bitcoins for the users, which is exactly what Bitcoin was supposed to avoid. We want everyone to hold their Bitcoins themselves in a wallet in which they control the keys. And in addition to doing that, it's pushed all sorts of people to start using things other than Bitcoin. There's all sorts of companies that used to be Bitcoin-only companies that have started adopting Bitcoin. So Coinbase used to be a Bitcoin-only company, and now they've integrated LITECOIN and ETHEREUM, and they've announced they're going to integrate Bitcoin Cash. We just saw earlier this week, blockchain.info, the #1 Bitcoin wallet in the entire world that's responsible for more Bitcoin transactions than any other than all other wallets combined, just integrated Ethereum. I'm the very first investor in the entire world in blockchain.info. I'm still the largest shareholder in the entire world in blockchain.info, almost more than all the other shareholders combined. Blockchain had no desire to integrate any other altcoins other than Bitcoin. And the only reason that they integrated something other than Bitcoin at this point is because they were forced to, because of the horrible user experience for Bitcoin users on the Bitcoin network, because of the full blocks and the high fees. If that wasn't the case, we would have been happy just going along with Bitcoin forever. So we've seen Coinbase integrate altcoins, blockchain.info integrate altcoins. All sorts of what used to be Bitcoin exchanges have now become cryptocurrency exchanges and are busy integrating altcoins. That's because of the horrible user experience that was brought about on Bitcoin because of the full blocks and high fees and slow confirmation times that they bring. It's kryptonite to the future growth of Bitcoin. And again, we have Vladimir here saying, I'm afraid increasing the block size will kick this can down the road and let people and the large Bitcoin companies relax. Saying that it's going to let them relax, that's exactly what we want people using Bitcoin to be able to do. We want them to be able to relax and have a wonderful user experience and have Bitcoin work beautifully for them. That's the name of the game when it comes to customer service and user adoption. We want people to have a good experience and be able to relax and just be able to use Bitcoin and not worry about it. And instead, they're causing these intentional problems on the network. And we can see in these charts again, as soon as we hit the 1 megabyte limit, Bitcoin's percentage of the total market cap plummeted. So what can we do about it? So I made these slides 6 months ago, but the answer is still basically the same, right? Bitcoin Unlimited at the time was advocating bigger blocks, lower fees, and faster confirmations. And it also enables layer 2 scaling. So we get all the benefits from the Lightning Network and all these fancy layer 2 stuff, plus lower fees and confirmations, faster confirmations. That's exactly what we want. And Bitcoin Cash has the exact same thing today. We already have bigger blocks. We're seeing all the transactions being included right in the next block. The fees are some very, very small fraction of what it is on the Bitcoin legacy system. And we can build all sorts of layer 2 stuff on top of this as well. And Bitcoin Unlimited and Bitcoin Cash's plan leads to better money, right? It has all of these things, including the easy to transport part. Bitcoin Legacy is not easy to transport. It's incredibly expensive and super slow to do that. And that's not what good money is.
2013 age.
And again, if we have better money,
I don't know how that started playing. Hang on a minute here.
more nodes, more adoption, more censorship.
Sorry, guys.
With a higher, and all those things will lead to a higher market cap and a higher price. And we see that happen right before our eyes with Bitcoin Cash.
Let me back this up. Actually, this guy's presentation is, I don't know, pretty right on. He might be a douchebag or whatever, but doesn't seem like
he's the guy who has been pushing Bitcoin Cash and trying to keep that afloat.
It looks like he's pushing Bitcoin here, though.
Well, of course, because he's on the top 10 rich list. He has a lot of them. He needs to keep the price inflated, but he really wants, if you go back and look, he was pushing Bitcoin Unlimited for a really, like for over a year.
Really?
He was pushing for a Bitcoin fork to be called Bitcoin Unlimited. And now that it forked, it's become Bitcoin Cash, and now he's a supporter of that.
Well, is Cash the better, you know, is Cash the one that transacts better? Because maybe, you know, if they would.
Well, the problem with Bitcoin Cash is that there's no blocks being mined. So
that's going to, so basically that's going to slow down too then, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go back and look at Charlie Lee's comments from the other day, he explains it very well.
Okay.
And it was funny because as soon as he made those comments, rocketed.
So does Litecoin, the outlooks for Litecoin maybe are the best then compared to any of them? Maybe that's neat. Maybe Litecoin takes over. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be anything. Who knows? But remember, Litecoin is on the Lightning Network. And the Lightning Network is what all the financial institutions and the banks use.
Which means that they're that's the downfall of it, basically, or what?
In my opinion, yes. You're using the exact same network that the banks are using. So if that network goes down, or if they want to stop it, they could.
Yeah, but if you think of it this way, you know, how can you trust these mining companies more than the banks? I mean, guys in China and Korea running the blockchain and charging you, like you just said, $5 to move $25 in Bitcoin. Would you trust them, or would you trust a system that's run by professionals? I mean, really, you got the same.
I would keep Bitcoin on a storage device or buy physical Bitcoins. You can now buy physical Bitcoins with 0.001 BTC on them. They are about the size of a poker chip.
No, I know, but I mean, what I mean by that is, you know, even the people you're buying this stuff from, or the wallets you store it on could be just as corrupt, if not worse.
Bitcoin. No, I don't think you understand what I'm talking about. There's actual
Right,
physical
back up again.
in your hand. Have
So
you ever
actually
seen these or no?
No, you can actually hold Bitcoin in your hand now physically without bullshit, without being on the blockchain.
Now I got connection problems. Damn it. Hold on.
It's all right.
I can't hear you very well.
All right. Can you hear me, Rich?
Yeah, you're good now. It was just a second. There's actual physical Bitcoins. They're the size of a poker chip. They're plastic. Okay. They're basically like a little tiny little mini USB device. You can store your points. You can store any amount on there. But when you buy them, they come loaded with 0.001 Bitcoin already on it. So you can store those yourself as well. So if you ever need to transact in Bitcoin, you don't need to pay fees or pay miners or anything. You just pull out your physical Bitcoin and you can send it to their wallet, or you can just give it to them.
See, now that's interesting, because apparently what you're telling me is they're coming out now with a situation or a system or a device or a unit or that can actually be the Bitcoin instead of it. Like they tell you, the hardware wallets are VPN devices that get into the storage access of your Bitcoin, and they're not really on your Trezor. But in this case, this device actually has the Bitcoin on it, period. No questions asked. A lot of complexities here. A lot of complexity here. I'm going to just back up and listen to the rest of this Roger Ver. I had somehow Taco's audio got turned on here somewhere. Hold on a second. Here we go.
All these things, including the easy to transport part. Bitcoin legacy is not easy to transport. It's incredibly expensive and super slow to do that. And that's not what good money is. And again, if we have better money leads to more users, more nodes, more adoption, and more censorship resistance. With a higher, and all those things will lead to a higher market cap and a higher price. And we're seeing that happen right before our eyes with Bitcoin Cash today. So many people are selling their slow and not easy to use and expensive to move Bitcoins and buying Bitcoin Cash. And the miners are going to switch, and whichever cryptocurrency has these characteristics as money is going to be the ones that people use. And Bitcoin had this giant, just light year head start on all these other cryptocurrencies in terms of network effect and user adoption, and that's been absolutely squandered and destroyed and smashed by this idiotic full block high fee policy of block streaming core. I don't think that they're bad people. I think they just don't understand the economic code that's made Bitcoin a success, and they've altered that to the detriment of Bitcoin. And that's why you've seen Bitcoin and now Bitcoin Cash. That's why we've seen Ethereum and now Bitcoin Cash just coming up like leaps and bounds. And if Bitcoin legacy continues to have this bad user experience, 100% of its first mover advantage is going to be destroyed because of Blockstream's full block and high fee policy. And that brings us to where we are today. If you're wondering what crypto coins you should hold, look at this chart here. All of them are hard to counterfeit, right? Look for the ones that are scarce and have a limited supply. All of them are basically divisible. Homogeneous is just another name for privacy. So Bitcoin, in addition to the scaling issue, has a really big problem with the homogeneousness, right? Bitcoin needs to have more privacy built in. So look at crypto coins that have more privacy built in. So you have some top contenders there are Zcash, Dash. Maybe the privacy is a little bit weaker, but still seems to be better than Bitcoin. Monero, of course, Zcoin, and I'm sure there's a number of others out there. So keep an eye on those. And that's another big problem with the full block and high fee policy implemented by Block Streaming Core. It makes it too expensive for people to use privacy tools like Bitcoin mixers, and that damages the homogeneousness of Bitcoin. If it's too expensive to use a mixer, then people aren't going to use it anymore, and that damages Bitcoin's characteristics as money. If you have big blocks where people can shuffle all their coins around, that improves the privacy of Bitcoin and that makes Bitcoin better money again. So they've damaged this aspect of Bitcoin as well with their full block and high fee policy. Of course, Bitcoins and all these other crypto coins are durable, but easy to transport. Bitcoin has had that incredibly damaged with this full block. Here's the characteristics to look for. I would like Bitcoin to have all of those in spades again. Bitcoin Cash looks like it has a pretty good chance of doing that again, but it has nowhere near the market effect of Bitcoin. There's no easy-to-use smartphone apps. There's pretty good adoption from exchanges. There's minimal adoption from merchant service providers at this point, so it's a bit of the chicken and egg problem. But every single Bitcoin holder is also a Bitcoin Cash holder, so a lot of these people are going to be interested, especially when we're seeing the price go crazy for it. We should check the price again, since I didn't check from the time I started this little screencast, but it's just been going crazy. It was it was about $300 48 hours ago, and now it's up around $1,000 at the moment. And yeah, what an exciting thing. So anyhow, I don't need this to go too long. We're almost up to a half an hour, but better money leads to all these things that we want. And it's worth pointing out too that the goal is not decentralization. The goal is censorship resistance. And we don't need an infinite amount of decentralization, but we want as much censorship resistance as we possibly can have. And we just use the decentralization as the tool to achieve that censorship resistance. So the decentralization in and of itself is not the goal. It's simply the tool we use to achieve that censorship resistance. And we just need enough decentralization to achieve that censorship resistance. So that's me. For anybody who's watching this video who doesn't know who I am, I'm the very first person in the entire world to start investing in Bitcoin startups. I've been involved in Bitcoin since February of 2011. I was the first investor in blockchain.info. I was in the earliest round for BitPay and Ripple and Purse.io and Kraken and Shapeshift and a whole bunch of other companies that are no longer around as well. And I started investing in the Bitcoin system years before traditional venture capital started getting involved. I got involved because I want to see Bitcoin. And if it's not Bitcoin, I'll be a bit sad, but I'm just fine if it's another cryptocurrency. But I want to see Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies replace every other government-issued currency in the world. I want to see it replace the dollar, the euro, and the yen, and put every single human being on the planet on the same foothold, on the same footing for being able to send and receive money with anyone else anywhere in the world without requiring permission from any politician or government or anybody for that matter, because that's what it's all about. We're all human beings. We all have the same natural rights. We should all be able to transact and send and receive money with each other without having to get the permission of strangers living in far-off lands. That's why I got involved with Bitcoin. That's my goal. Today, I'm the CEO of Bitcoin.com. If you want to learn more about Bitcoin, go to Bitcoin.com. Unlike BitcoinTalk.org or Bitcoin.org or our Bitcoin will allow you to go and say anything you want on our forums. We're not going to delete your post or censor your position just because of you might disagree with somebody on how Bitcoin should scale. But anyhow, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. I'll probably do an AMA at some point in the very near future on RBTC because they support free speech there. So look for my AMA coming soon too. Thank you guys all for supporting this fundamentally world-changing technology. Learn more at Bitcoin.com. Thank you all.
That was a good presentation. I don't know. Sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I don't know.
Professional.
Yeah. Never heard the man before, Roger Ver. World's first Bitcoin investor. Bitcoin.com.
I can't believe you've never heard of him.
No, I mean, I'm new at this. I'm completely new at this stuff. I'm not, yeah, I just don't have all that time to figure it out. I'm slowly finding the truth in the news. I spend more time in the Bible than I do in the news, actually. I weigh all the news against the Bible. I'm very shallow that way. To a lot of, not you, but I mean a lot of other people, they accuse me of that. But it's true. It's true. I am very shallow. I really don't immerse myself in a lot of this as people may think. I mean, I dig around and I jump right into the muck of misinformation that's out there but I don't sink into it. I lay down real quick and I crawl out of there of the mounds of marsh grass and you know, the willows that are in there, and I hang on for dear life, and I just try to get, you know, through the miry muck and weigh everything against the word of God. But yeah, I'm interested in all of it, so that's good. I'm glad I got to wear a Roger Ver a little bit now. That is amazing, because I just grab a hold of a couple channels, and you know, I really don't know who's who. It sucks. So little by little, I'm finding out who's who. So there you go. It's awesome. I think that this could lead to LITECOIN becoming popular. But here's the thing. How long is LITECOIN going to work before it slows down and has to fork? And why does it even have to fork? You know, and then there's going to be that problem. And, you know, we just have an unlimited or a never-ending road to more cryptos and forks, and I don't know. We're always heading into uncharted territory in these markets, so it's going to take time to figure out. It's going to take time to figure out.
Yeah, some real murky waters we're in here right now.
Oh yeah. And Bitcoin's pulling back as we speak right now a little bit on the price. Not much, 42.18, but the thing is you know, people people are not even going to want it anymore. If you're stuck with it, what are you going to do? Sell it and take a loss? You know, because of the transaction fees? I mean, hell, there's people that got in and made, you know, 20% or 50% on their Bitcoin, and now they got to give 20% back to the mining companies just to get out of it. That's worse than the government, man. It's worse than the IRS. That's worse than the criminal banksters that everybody complains about. So, some problems ahead, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see how it works out. But never let a good crisis go to waste, right? That's what this is all about, too, I'm sure. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And look at that. LITECOIN is starting up on the chart right now, 51.32. I think we should all focus on LITECOIN now all of a sudden. Forget Bitcoin. All right. Everything's LITECOIN. All of a sudden, here we go. It's LITECOIN, ladies and gentlemen. And maybe that's exactly what's going to happen. Maybe LITECOIN is going to go to 5,000. Wouldn't that be something? This market's crazy. I'll tell you, this market is not anything less than crazy and ridiculous. But it cannot be ignored. It's there. So who else is around here? Is anybody listening to us? No, nobody's listening. Now for these altcoins, what's going to become of them? Well, I guess LITECOIN's an altcoin because, you know, some of these guys, no matter what it is an altcoin compared to Bitcoin. Anything but Bitcoin is an altcoin. But then, you know, some people don't think that. They think Ethereum and LITECOIN, Dash are, you know, top-tiered important cryptocurrencies, and then everything else is an altcoin or a shitcoin or whatever you want to call it. So here we go with that. Maybe everybody's going to rush into Doge. Maybe they're just going to say, hey, that's the fastest transacting coin. It'll only cost a penny to transact, or maybe hardly anything. $1. I don't even remember what it is, but it's real cheap. So maybe there's going to be a big rush into Doge now all of a sudden. How would people do that? How would you get out of your Bitcoin right now and not pay the fee? There's no way around it. If you have it stored on a hardware wallet, you can't move it without the transaction fees. So how do you do this? How do you transact away from Bitcoin and exit Bitcoin now? You're kind of stuck. Buddy, you made the comment about Bitcoin earlier to me. Just let it sit on your wallet like wine. How did you put that again? I forgot. It was a pretty good way of putting it, actually. Just let it.
Just leave it on your device and let it age like a fine wine. Forget about it.
Yeah, just let it age like a fine wine.
Let all this bullshit go over and just wait to move anything until all this stuff.
Yeah. It's about where we're at. It's where you're at right now. If you have Bitcoin, you're in a forced.
They hold you hijacked, hold you hostage. So if that's the game they'll play, then they're going to see the price drop like a rock as well, as people are just say the hell with it.
Yeah, but then again, if the holders of Bitcoin can't move it around, you're not going to see them sell it either, because they can't get it into a
You have to
position
remember,
where
most people would be happy to take a 25% loss and move it to something else. 25 or 20% is nothing to a lot of these guys.
Yeah, if you got a lot of Bitcoin, but it is to those of us that don't have any,
Right, but when you're up 10,000% or 200,000%,
right?
Moving some and losing 20% isn't a big deal.
Yeah, that's true. Rich, what are your thoughts on this debacle? You're just going to sit still and watch Doge and no limit coin?
Yep. I'm not in a hurry.
No. What about Opus? Rich, are you still there? He's hanging around. He might have ran away from the mic for a while. Wonder where Roger Ver lives. I bet he don't live in the U.S., so maybe he does. Roger Ver, let's see what he's about. He lives in Tokyo, Japan.
Put the link for those physical Bitcoins in the chat room if you want to check it out. That way, you see, if I owe you money, I can just hand you those. There's no mining involved or no transactions involved. I just give them to you. Pay you $10, then I pay you a $10 bill. If I owe you this amount of Bitcoin, I just hand it to you.
Oh, wow. Huh. What's their max storage capability for Bitcoin? How do you put the Bitcoin on it? You have to have like a scanning device or what?
It's already loaded on it.
No, I get
You don't
that.
need to put it on, but you can if you want to, yes.
All right, so if I get one of these, right? Or do I have to like what if I want one whole Bitcoin? Do I have to order like 10,000 of these or what?
No. It acts as a hardware wallet, so you can use it as such if you wish.
That's what I mean. So if it acts as a hardware wallet, how do you extract the Bitcoin off of it and put it back on it? How does it work is what I mean.
If you want to actually put it on the network, then these coins are probably not for you. This is physical.
Okay, it's physical Bitcoin, so it's a finite amount on each one, and it's not, the amount can't be changed per coin, is what you're saying, or per device or whatever.
If you wish to, yes, they act as a storage device. If you want to add 100 Bitcoin on it, you can. That way, if you know, it's basically your own bank. So if you want to put like let's say you want to put 0.1 Bitcoin on 10 of them, so you have 1 Bitcoin, right?
Mm-hmm.
That way, if you're trying to make payments to someone or you want to transact in Bitcoin, you just physically give them that. You don't have to put anything on a network. You don't pay any fees. You say, hey, man, I owe you 0.1 Bitcoin. Here you go.
Okay.
Let's say you want to pay someone a half a Bitcoin, then give them 5 of them or put on there or whatever. It's just another option, basically.
Fuck, man. I gotta go to work.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
All right, we'll talk later. What source is this? That's cool. I didn't even know they had these.
Yeah, they're neat little hologram poker chip type things.
You gonna get one or what?
Oh yeah, I've ordered a bunch.
Did you?
Yeah, I ordered a box of them, and each one comes with 0.001 Bitcoin on it. So roughly $5 each right now with current prices. So I got physical $5 Bitcoins.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're just kind of checking out some more Bitcoin news. And I think what I'll do here, since this channel is the new channel and there's not a big listening audience until it uploads, I'm going to end this transmission and let this thing load. And we'll get back to more investigatory news findings a little bit later on today in regards to Bitcoin and what's going on with it and these miners and the current Bitcoin debacle that is in progress. So thank you for joining us. Remember to visit TheNewsUNit.com at www.TheNewsUNit.com. Also visit the Crypto Hardware Wallet Superstore via the banner there to purchase hardware wallet supplies. Through the affiliate program, you'll be helping the News Unit out and yourself with discounts, t-shirt offers, etc. Check out the banner there at that link at www.thenewsunit.com. And that concludes this broadcast right here at thenewsunit.com, the News Unit channel, here on the YouTube Video Network. Have a good day.